My guest this week is Memphis record producer and guitarist Bobby Manuel. I'm Mitch Mccracken, and this is Memphis Music Interview. Welcome to the show, Bobby. So tell me, how did you get started in the music business?
Listening to Elvis.
Like everybody else.
Everybody else, man. Trying to imitate him and do that, stand in front of a mirror and practice all those moves.
Right.
And I was a tap dancer before that at the Bernie Line School of
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Was
so that, I'll get a chance to sing, and then they would give me numbers, I think I did All Shook Up. A couple of those things, wear the little white suit, tap dance, sing a little bit and all that. So anyway, hearing Elvis kind of, spurred me on to do it because the pantomime, all of a sudden I noticed I wasn't like getting the girls. I wasn't getting the same reaction Elvis was.
Yeah, imagine that.
So I said, well, it's got to be the guitar,
Yeah.
So, 12-year-old logic, there you go. So let's go get a guitar.
Yeah.
So down to Beale Street, man. Got that little Stella guitar that had strings. I know they were 3 inches high. I think you'd have had to have a vice grips to play the stuff. And all that.
Yeah.
So they got me a teacher. One of the guys that played at the dancing school. His name was Lynn Vernon. He was a great teacher, by the way, a fantastic player. And he said, well, you'll never learn on that. So then Christmas came, and I got a little Fender Music Master. And that kind of started me, man. Started doing that stuff. And I met, that was about the 6th grade. In junior high, I met a guy named Travis Womack.
Yeah.
And he was like the little Elvis, man. And to us, he was,
Yeah.
And Travis was playing great and all that stuff. So he started showing me stuff. I would hang out with him and all that. And, we played basketball together and that kind of thing. And I finally discovered that he wasn't the genius I thought he was after a while, because there was a guy here in town called Reggie Young.
Yeah.
Reggie had played on everybody's record. He was a great musician. Well, Travis was sneaking over there, but he never would take me. But Travis would come back playing all this Chuck Berry and all this killer stuff. And I said, man, where you get that? Oh, no, So he never took me to Reggie, but he did show me. I give him credit. But Travis was incredible now. I don't mean to slide him there.
Yeah.
He was just keeping his sources quiet,
Because Reggie's pretty good.
Reggie's, something else. So that's kind of, how I got started doing that part of it. Then I moved to Frazier and met a whole set of other people. 14, 15. I started playing clubs that early. Started playing at Tipton County there, where they had all these gambling joints.
Right.
And I was so young that they would give me a whistle to blow if a fight started out or any of that kind of thing. They said, well, you blow the whistle and we'll come quickly, man, and we'll get them out of there. And it was treacherous out there, because what they were doing is a lot of those sailors, man, they were just taking their money, and man, they'd beat them in the head and all that. If they won, I'm serious, the axe handles would come out. They would not make it home, man. It was that dangerous a deal, yeah. So I kind of cut my teeth out there out at Cham's Club and the Bon Ton and a bunch of those places. But I learned how to play, and I learned a lot, from those guys out there. They would,
So you were a whistleblower.
Yeah, I was a whistleblower, man.
So how did you end up at Stax?
Well, from there. I was able to start playing a lot of black clubs, and that's when I started meeting a lot of black musicians. I got a job. I was going through college at the Paradise Club, which was the premier club here, and it was broadcast on the radio live and all that. So I was hot stuff, big stuff there.
Right.
Man. I thought I'd made it, and the bass player in that in the band was a guy named Alan Jones. And he worked at Stax at that time. He was head of auditions, and he had a small band, not a small band, but not that big of unknown, the Barkays. And that's who he was working with, He was working with those guys. After maybe a year of that, he got me into Stax as an engineer, started there. And I think the first 6 months, man, they threw me in the fire. I got there in, fall of '67, right after Otis had died.
Oh.
Oh, it was like a graveyard over there.
Yeah.
The first it was winter. I think it was December when I got there. I didn't think anybody worked there. It was I'm serious. It was
Right.
that. I said, when are we gonna do something? What's going on? You know, and I didn't even see them before January, February. I mean, it was that kind of grim kind
Right.
of thing. And man, they threw me right in the fire. Man, I was cutting sessions, and I had. You know, you were telling me about you just starting at FM 100. It's green. I was so green, I barely knew what a recorder was. All they had taught me was how to edit tapes, and the first session was a Bonnie and Delaney horn session.
Wow.
And they said, "Well, you got to do the session," you know. I said the other engineer was busy. A guy named Ronnie Capone was
Yeah.
and I said, "Look, you know, I don't have a clue." And they said, "Well, come on, we'll show you." And there was Leon Russell sitting there. Oh,
Whoa.
you know, yeah, Leon and that whole deal. Anyway, that was my first throw in the fire session. I cut the horns out of sync because I didn't know how to turn there's a sync button and a safe button, right?
Right.
If you put it in sync, it would play, let them hear it off the playback head, which when he played it back, then it would be in sync, right?
Right.
I didn't do that. I left it on safe and recorded them, and so there was a delay. And I thought, oh Lord, I'm fired now. I have no idea, you know. And all I could say was, well, I didn't know. Yeah, major session, you know. But Steve Cropper, bless his heart, saved me. He was able to manipulate the machine somehow to where it worked out and got in sync. And,
Wow.
So I started playing. Well, I was playing over there some, but not a lot. You know, of course, Steve was there, but I got to play on that session. I think that was the very first session I played. I played on
which one?
Bonnie Delaney's "Little Piece of My Heart." She did that song, and it was killer. They loved what I did. They tried to take me. Delaney said, "Man, I want you to go on the road with us." I said, I just got in here. I don't want to leave, man. That band turned into Derek and the Dominoes, and so I guess it's just as well because clapped at me, I got my gig.
Yeah,
you know what
no
I'm saying? But I stayed there, and from there I only engineered off and on because I started writing songs and then eventually producing. I wrote a lot of songs with a lady, Betty Crutcher. Gave me a great break, said, well, I need somebody to help me write these songs. And man, we ended up, 40, 50 song catalog over there. Got a lot of songs cut. And then I started playing more and more and more. I was Isaac Hayes' first guitarist out of there in 71. We went all over the world. I was in his first band, man. We did all that. First 2 years were incredible, man. It was,
Well, now usually with Booker T and the MGs, when Steve didn't play,
Steve left about 71, just about that time that I went with Isaac, and so we reformed the MGs. So I was on top of the world, man. Had the gig. We did our MG album and started doing that, and that kind of became the staff rhythm section over. There were some other guitar players. At that time, the only other one was. Great guitarist, Michael Toles, and he was with the Barkays. He was I started teaching Michael when he was like 14. He came in and was learning how to do it and all that. So from that trainee engineer job, that's how I got it going. Started producing acts. Let's see. First acts were a guy named Ben Atkins. I remember taking that to FM 100 trying to get that record played, by the way.
How'd that work out?
It didn't work out good because we had a promotions party. You'll love this. And I was so nervous and excited about it that I had to set up the PA system. And in doing that, I shorted it out, and you couldn't even play the record. I had all those guys there, in this room. Well, I want you to hear it, but it was incredible. We couldn't even play the record, man. Yeah. Wow. Remember a guy named Bill Browder?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bill was promoting for us that time. I said, man, this is just the most embarrassing thing I've ever done. We couldn't even play the record at the.
Well, now do you know the true story about how Bill changed his name?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it have to do with looking out his window in Germantown?
No, not that I know of. I thought it was, in fact, wow, I left a whole segment of my life out. The first studio I worked at was a studio called Onyx.
Right.
That's where Bill Browder was.
Right.
A guy named Ronnie Stutes had started that studio. I was playing in college with Ronnie off and on.
Right.
He was Ronnie Angel.
Right,
He was
yeah.
the lead singer of the Marquis.
Right.
So I played in his band. We playing clubs. This before I went to the Paradise.
Uh-huh.
And so Ronnie got some backers and, said, I want to get in the record business. I don't know how he persuaded him to do it, but he did. That was Ronnie's first studio, Onyx Studio.
Right.
And the first productions I ever did there was there. And it was on a guy named Art Gentry, a song called Merry-Go-Round. Yeah. He and I wrote it. And in fact, Alan Jones at the Paradise hooked me up with Art Gentry, who is Ben Cawley's cousin. Ben Cawley.
Yeah.
So that song almost got picked up by Stax. They heard it and they, were thinking about putting it out. And then I produced a little pop group called The Village Sound.
Yeah.
You ever heard of those guys?
Oh, yeah.
Greg Redding and who else was
Well, guess who I talked to?
Pat Taylor.
Yeah, Pat Taylor. And guess
Yeah.
who I talked to yesterday? David Mayo.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people.
I'm telling you, man. He's
Yeah.
like, well, I'm going to do an interview
Yeah.
with him
Yeah.
next week. But
Well, I did their first record. I think it was These Windows. And I used the intro on both of the records I produced, same
Okay.
intro. So the critic finally let me know about that.
Yeah.
He said, I
Yeah, I
don't
bet
understand
they
why
did.
they used the same intro. I said, well, I only knew one, you know. It was pretty good. So
all right, well, get back to Bill
Yeah.
Browder now. How
Okay.
did he change his name?
So anyway, Bill Browder came there later to recording with what was Jackie? I can't think of the producer. Anyway, there used to be there was a house next door to Onyx, and they had a German Shepherd dog out there running around.
Okay.
They were setting up in the offices up there as well.
Right.
And they saw the dog, and they said, "What are we gonna call this? What are we gonna do?" And then that's how they got it.
Right, okay.
The German Shepherd.
That's what I've always.
That's a true
in fact,
story.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
see, and I told that story in my book.
Yeah.
That's the way I told it
Yeah.
because other people had said, "Oh no, that stands for the Good Shepherd."
No, oh no. What no good shepherd about that, man. No, man.
All right, well,
No.
thank you, thank you.
The German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they played on Bill's first record. Don't ever remind him of this record. He'll love it. It was the London Crier, I believe. I believe that was the name of it. Oh, it was.
Good, huh?
It was tough. It was tough. But I played on another. His second record I played on, it was a hit record, Devil in the Bottle, to Onyx Studio.
Right.
So that was actually my first studio, other than the Stax. So that's how it all came together. You know.
And so now, how long did you produce the Village Sound?
Oh, just at one record.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I went to Stax after you know that Alan. The two things, they heard the first record on Art Gentry, they really liked it, so they kind of knew who I was. And then Alan got me in the door.
Right.
You know, what was going on was Jim Stewart was not going to be able to engineer anymore. So they had to get a new trainee.
Right.
And Ronnie Capone had been hired there as a head engineer. So they got me. Ronnie Capone was from Tanner. He was their engineer. So he'd only been there about a year or so.
Right.
And so that's how I started doing it, lifting amps and,
Right.
where you want it, Mr. Cropper,
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were my buddies. It wasn't like that, you
Right.
know, and they took me in and taught me, man, showed me how to do it. So, I give them credit. I mean, they were the thing, man.
Right.
You know.
Well, now, I have a bit of a connection with Stax.
Yeah.
Not much. But I worked when Estelle Axton started Freetone Records.
Yeah.
I went to work for her in promotion, and they only had the one record.
Right.
That you produced.
Right.
Do you admit to that in public?
Well, yeah. Yeah. When
Disco
asked
Duck.
about it, I will, I've developed a better story than I used to have, It used to be, I said, I used to think it was either going to be the best and the worst record ever made. I wasn't sure, which, when you think about it, it was a little of both, But all those guys, I did the music part of the record, and Rick wrote the lyric and that
Right.
concept. But all those guys were Isaac's band on there. That is, if you listen just to the music of that record, I'm telling you,
You know what?
some great playing on that record.
I was doing some research, and I pulled it up and played it.
Yeah.
And man, the horns on that is
Killer,
really.
isn't it?
I mean, the music is really, really good.
Yeah, it was. We were. That was a hot band. That was Isaac's band, and it was that was the last rhythm section of Stax. It was Ray Griffin, a guy named Lester Snell, Willie Hall, who later played with the Blues Brothers, and myself, a guy named pianist I met over at Shoe Productions, Swain Schaefer, and another guitar player, Gimmer Nicholson, who was a great slide guitar player around town. And that was the band. So that was a holdover from Stax. And those musicians, man, I mean, we cut some great records over there, I think. Really, really musically sound. It's just that the nature of that at the time, which it was, people couldn't get it. It was really tongue-in-cheek. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It was
like a bit,
right?
It
was
a radio bit.
The whole album we did was like a radio bit.
Yeah, Too Many Jelly Donuts.
He was killer, man. He was so. I flew out a couple of years ago and saw him. We got reunited and everything. We were talking about doing another. He had a crazy song. What do you want to call that thing? Digital Duck. I said, I don't know, Rick. I don't know about that. Digital Duck. I think it'd be great against it. I think we may have run a course on that, man. We need another animal. We gotta get, we gotta get
pick on something else.
Yeah, please. But he
Duck.
is, boy, he hasn't changed. I mean, he is in your face and out there and had a ball.
He's doing mornings at some station out there. He left Kiss FM, right?
Yeah.
And he's at another station now. But
yeah, he took me to his star on the whatever it is, Walkathon,
the Walk of Fame,
Walk of Fame deal, and he said, well, let's get a picture. And I said, well, I don't have a camera, man. He said, you mean I brought you all the way down here to this and you didn't even bring a camera, like
it was your fault.
And I said, well, So we took a little camera phone and that I had, and we finally got a picture and all that. But it was we had a good time again. Yeah, he's still the same, man.
Right.
Still,
I went to dinner with him and Julie.
Yeah.
Right after, I think he was still at KHJ then.
Yeah.
But boy, I just love Julie.
Oh, isn't she sweet?
Together they were something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. He's got a great son. I believe has taken over the business for him now. His name is Kevin.
Yeah.
And
it looks a lot like him too.
Yeah.
Looks a lot like him.
He took me to his studios, all that. Showed me all this. Yeah, I think he's got 6 studios there that he rents out and does high dollar stuff, and does all of those radio shows and all that from there. And we just had a great time. But every time we email, he said, "Man, I'm working on it." I said, "I'm gonna go in. I am gonna finish it. I promise you." I said, "Look, man,
what Digital Duck?
Yeah, right. I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Right, well. But we did do some music. We put a track down and stuff. But I don't know. You can't recreate the past like that.
That's
man.
right.
Let it
that's
go,
right.
man. You gotta leave that alone. But so you were out there promoting that record, huh?
No, well, I traveled the country promoting
okay.
it. But when he moved from WHBQ to KHJ, and I was ended up working for Westwood One, which is a syndication company in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So we both were in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so we hooked up and went to dinner.
And,
talked quite a bit. And I remember, and I think this was at HBQ, he had me on the air one time, and he introduced me. He says, yeah, Mitch just co-wrote a book with Johnny Cash called All My Difficult Guitar Pieces.
That's him, man. Oh, listen, man, he's a funny guy.
He is.
Radio here was it was something else.
Yeah.
He'd get you going in the mornings, and we're still doing it.
Well, so now how did you, when did you leave Stax?
Well, I stayed there to the end. So
did you really?
Almost 8 years, from, like I say, 67, and till they closed the door. I was there the day that they said, you got to leave, and walked it out and barred it. barred that door, chained it,
That's
whatever they did, you know. And,
That's when Union Planters
yeah.
foreclosed, is
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Couldn't even cash our checks, man. You
Wow.
know, go to the grocery store and it would be a sign of no tax checks.
We know about you.
Yeah. So I think the first couple of months, I definitely remember I was driving my Mercedes to the pawn shop with a shotgun to pawn for groceries.
Yeah.
You know. So the guy said, "Man, times must be tough. That was a terrible thing they did." I said, "Yeah, man. How much you give me for my shotgun?" It was a horrible thing, man. That was tough. But I was really blessed, Mitch. I'll tell you. I was very fortunate that almost 6 months. Well, let's see. That was 75, and then. Still Action, it started Freetone.
Right.
And so the middle of 76 or spring, I had Disco Duck. So
Yeah.
it saved me. And I had twins. I had 3 kids. And my twins were just, barely 4 years old. It was tough, man. I had no idea where we were going to go.
Right.
So that's, that saved my life there.
Wow,
that record,
that's amazing.
And I had only done one record. There was a girl artist, Catherine Chase, that she had, and I did a couple of records on her, and she wasn't that much. And when she asked me to do Rick's record, she had been doing a lot of records on wrestlers and stuff.
Right.
I said, "Oh, please."
Yeah, they can sing too, can't they?
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Hart, but that's about it.
He's not a wrestler, is he? No, I knew he was, but I said, my first question was, I said, "Well, can he sing?" And she said, "I don't know."
And it doesn't matter, they'll sell.
It doesn't matter, So anyway, that's how that happened, and
well, they did win the People's Choice Award for
absolutely,
1977.
yeah, sure did. And so I'm sorry what we did. We went to we did Dinah Shore, we did the Merv Griffin show.
Right. Yeah.
We did the Billboard Award show, where I met Funkadelics and saw the guy in the diaper.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
If it's a guy back there in backstage in a diaper, I had never seen that. I did not. What's he wearing a diaper for, man? It was crazy,
and
man.
why was he wearing it?
How was he wearing it? Was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did. That was, I guess, 3 or 4. Oh, I know what we did. We did the Midnight Special show.
Oh, yeah.
And that was crazy.
Yeah.
We all dressed up, in character or whatever we wanted to be. And I of all things, I had gotten into scuba diving. So I said, I know what I'll do. I'll take my wetsuit, and so that's what I'll be, a scuba diver,
Right.
Well, little did I know, 3 hours later under the heat lamps in a wetsuit, buddy, let me tell you what. I thought I was going to die because they kept, they said, I thought you'd just do the song 2 or 3 times and be done with it,
Right.
But they were having problems with the guy in the duck suit because you'll love this story. He was actually he was the voiceover guy who had done the duck sound right, and so they wanted him to dance. And he said, "Man, I don't dance. I do the duck, man." They said, "Well, you got to do something. You just can't stand there,
Yeah.
He said, "No, okay." So anyway, they could never get it right. They could never get the sound from, he had a little lavalier mic inside there.
Right.
We did that song, I'm telling you, half the afternoon, man. I was dead, man. I was baked. And then I took the thing, because we didn't have horns. I took it to the studio and was going to put horns. That thing was so fast, man. To get out of there, we had sped that thing. We could barely play it, man.
Wow.
It was unbelievable how fast we got that song. So, yeah, the Midnight Special.
Are you telling me that Disco Duck is the highlight of your career?
Oh, no. No, I don't. No. No.
All right, well, now you produced a lot of songs while you were at Saxon.
Yeah, I did Little Milton. I did Ben Atkins, a guy named Stephen. Stephen Anderson.
Uh-huh.
I did a girl named Annette Thomas.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, we did the MG stuff. And,
Right.
let's see, who else did we do? We did Shirley Brown, had a hit on her called Woman to Woman. That was I think that was the last year of Stax, 75.
Right.
I continued producing her with Jim Stewart for, I know, maybe 10 years after that. You see, we did Rance Allen. Like I said, Disco Duck saved me. Then I started getting offers to do other acts and whatever, but I didn't want to move to L.A.
Right.
I had a family.
Yeah.
I just, I just didn't want that life for them. I just thought it's very difficult, probably, to raise kids out there, and kind of a family guy anyway.
Right.
So that wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
So Jim Stewart approached me about starting a studio, and I said, "Well, sure, man. Let's I don't want to leave. Let's do it." So we found a building that already had an existing studio in it, Shoe Productions, and that's where I had recorded Disco Duck.
Right.
So that knew about that place. They had a whole side of a building that was empty. So we worked out a deal where Jim and I built a studio and started doing independent productions for everybody. We did work for a lot of people. We did Benny King for Atlantic. We did a lot of those Malico acts, and
Wow.
yeah, a lot of people came through there. All the Levon Helm, RCO All Stars, all those guys. That's, I don't know, Willie Mitchell. I'd see. I can't even think who else. There's a ton of people that we worked with through there and came through. And then Jim retired about 2000, and I took over, started a gospel label. And plus, I did a few, to launch the gospel record, I had to have funding. So I did a Stax reunion record, which was own taking. So let me tell you, that was something else. But also I did a Rufus Thomas record right there, which was a lot of fun. So.
Did Carl Wise have anything to do with that?
Not at that time. Carl was working, doing publishing stuff for Shoe Production.
Right.
And he was managing their publishing for a while.
Well, so now, what do you think caused the downfall of Stax?
Mm-hmm. Boy, that is multiple. There's no one answer.
Right.
Obviously, there's no one answer.
And the reason I ask that is because when I worked for Estelle, she was not a fan of Al Bell.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't, and she thought he was a great part of why it did what it did. The demise,
Right.
But on the other side of that. At that time, that company was really changing. I think Jim realized that it would be more difficult, for him to manage that company. I think the two of them together was great because Jim balanced Al's visions.
Right.
And his, enthusiasm, to expand and everything. He was the anchor there, and he stabilized him. And so when Jim sold out, Al had kind of free run, and that can be good and bad.
Right.
But I do think that company could have made it. We were making hit records, man.
Right.
It wasn't like it was over. It's just. CBS really wanted to be in that business and control it, and I think that was part of their plan from the beginning. So, what can you do when you ship records to them and they're sitting there, they don't even distribute them, get them out, send them right back to you as returns, and then don't pay you.
Right,
See, when they deduct those returns from any monies, they really did put them out of business. And, the bank, I never understood. I guess the bank here they were trying to save their own skins.
Right.
Essentially. So they were going to do whatever it took, to do that. And,
Did you ever have any dealings with Joe Harwell?
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah, I sure did.
Yeah.
I think I got a loan from him.
Yeah.
At one time. But, out of all that, think about it, he's the only one that ever, got had to do time.
Yeah.
Got charged and convicted, and Al was cleared, and all. So in justification of Al, boy, he had great charisma. Uh, and regardless, I mean, the thing was, like I say, if he'd had somebody to balance it, all the vision he had, there was nothing the matter with that. I mean, it was incredible how he could make you feel, and how he could, as far as his leadership skills and all that. It's just he didn't have the balance. He didn't have Jim there to hold the reins back a little bit, and let's talk about this and that, and I think that got out of hand. But again, between the bank and CBS, they just squeezed them out, which they didn't. It didn't matter culturally what they were doing, or what it meant to the city. They didn't care. They didn't care a thing about that. And times were different then. Between the bank and CBS, they just squeezed them out, which they didn't. It didn't matter culturally what they were doing, or what it meant to the city. They didn't care. They didn't care a thing about that. And times were different then.
Joe Harwell, I think, deserved whatever time he served and then some.
He did, man. He did. He was just doing some. He was skimming stacks. I mean, that's what he was doing, man.
Yeah.
Certainly Stacks had a run of the money, but they were kept, I think, $1 million there. In the accounts. And Joe, you could just go see Joe.
Yeah.
But I think Jim just realized that he had to get out of it. That was a good time for him to get out of the situation.
Right. Yeah, but then lost his house.
He lost his house, and that's the thing he would tell me. He said, "Man, that's the mistake I made." He said, "I put personal guarantees," and he said, "I let my ego and whatever get the best of me." He said, "I had built it.
Right.
I couldn't stand to see it go down." And man, when he came back in the studio, those the first records we cut was Woman to Woman. Another million seller. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, like I say, we did. Well, what else did we do? We did R.B. Hudman. There's a song called "Can I Be a Witness?" That's a great song. It's a hit record. I mean, we still had all the ingredients right there, and we're making it's just that's when he started the Truth label and started trying to distribute it and get it out there himself where he could keep some cash flow.
Right.
But it was just too late. They couldn't. It just wasn't enough to offset the debt and the other things.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some serious millions going on there. But man, we were making hit records.
Right.
In fact, that was one. I was just having to think. That was one of the first artists that we cut when for Atlantic was R.B. Hudman. That's where he ended up when we started our the studio called Daily Planet was the name in that place, if you remember it. So.
Well, now, and just recently, you were recorded on Mark Massey. I'm sorry, Newman.
Yeah. Right.
Newman CD.
Yeah.
Man, that was some incredible stuff you did.
Thank you,
That was
man.
some
Thank
great guitar work. In fact, it was so good that when I heard it, I said, "Who is that?"
Really?
I swear.
Really?
Yeah, because it was
Well,
that good.
Well, I had fun, and I got to play some blues, which that's always been, my thing from those early Albert records, man. I'll play the Blues for You album. I played rhythm guitar for Albert. I was fortunate enough to play with two of the greats and do their records with Little Milton. There was some of the records I'm most proud of. That's What Love Will Make You Do. If you ever get a chance to that one, man, I'm doing that little chunky rhythm on the back. So that was my thing going way back, man.
Yeah.
To them was doing those blues things. So I was a big Albert. I was playing like that Albert style and BB style way back then. So that I never got to do that on record though. See, it was always rhythm and blues style and whatever, and your mainly background Curtis Mayfield stuff and all that.
Right.
So just recently, and every day, by the way, I'll go play blues in my room, man. That's what that's really, other than the, few clubs as a kid, I get to play blues. Well, I love it. Anytime I can get to do that, I get to, I played Out the Shell just recently with Vannice Thomas, and she does my blues, blues. So see, I love that. So that was a ball. got to do that thing with her. You know, that was just October. So I played out one other time. Let's see what they did this year. I did the 40th anniversary for the Grammys, and that was fun. There was a ton of acts around, and did that. And then I did the thing at the White House, and that was in April.
Oh yeah,
you know,
was
so
that fun?
That was the one, man.
Yeah.
That was a culmination of a career, really.
Right.
I mean, in one gig.
Yeah.
In one gig, man.
Yeah.
I think more people saw that, and more people comment on that, than I've ever had. I don't know. It must have been not a lot to do that night or something, you know.
Right.
But
now I tell you, Memphis music is like, known all over the world.
That was. I can't tell you what an honor that was, man. It really humbled me that Booker would call me to do that.
Yeah. And it was. I get such a kick when I was traveling the country and talking to people outside of Memphis, and when they realize that on the Sam and Dave song, when they say, "Play it, Steve," and then when the Blues Brothers said, "Play it, Steve,"
it's the same
Steve, and same bass player too, So, but
isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Boy, those guys they've hit the lottery every time, when they were doing their thing.
Yeah.
From one thing to the other, it just when the gift was there. They both, Duck and Steve, had the talent to.
Well, now, do you ever go play live anymore?
That's the only times, and that reason I was telling those this year, since 20 years maybe.
Yeah.
No, not quite that long. 83. Duck and I had a band, Gary Johns and Jim Spake and Steve Potts, who was a Blues Brothers drummer. We had a band called the Coolers around here. Put that together because there was just nothing going on early 80s. 83. It was really dead around here, So we had to do something. So, boy, that band worked. We played with everybody, man. We really did around.
Yeah.
We did Ron Wood and Joe Walls.
Oh, really?
All those guys came. Yeah, they used to come down and they would come down and sit in with us at the Peabody. And it was a ball, man. I was trying to think who else. Billy Joel came down, played with us.
Yeah.
George Thorogood. All these, all these guys that were coming down. That's what they would come here, and then they want to play and do it. So we had it going on,
Yeah.
We made a record finally, and just did Phillips distributor here released it and did okay and all that. So that was during the 80s. I guess in the lull times of the studio business, man. Playing live. So since then I haven't. 90s, I haven't played out. That was it. You mentioned Jimmy Jamison. We just talked on Facebook, and I had sent him. I finally decided to do an album for my kids. So I've done a single, and I've got it out. So I sent him the single, and he really loved it, And
really?
Yeah, he wants me to produce 2 or 3, 4 sides on him. So I'm thinking about doing that.
Wow, that'd be great.
that'd be fun. And Jimmy is the best singer to me to ever come out of here. I mean, he is something else, man.
Yeah.
The man's he's got the deal.
Yeah, I interviewed him, and I said, "So tell me, Jimmy, when did you realize how good you are?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, recently."
That's funny. Well, listen. He's he's my kind of people. He's very humble, man, and he just doesn't. He's not a pushy guy, but his talent speaks for him.
Yeah.
People are loving this little single I did. I don't know, man.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun. It is. It takes a lot of energy, though. Let me tell you, to get out and do this.
Yeah.
I don't do this live as well as I used to do, man.
Right.
Because it's gosh.
Yeah.
At least the way I do it, man. It's like it's an event for me. It's just not a gig,
All right. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, sure.